There are so many reasons why UVA football struggles and has for a number of years to get people to come to games. Among the myriad reasons that we couldn't even get 40,000 for homecoming on Saturday. And maybe the buy tickets website link is iffy. I had some trouble getting onto that yesterday. I was just trying to check out how much the tickets cost. There's parking or lack thereof that's accessible. And accessible meaning you don't have to walk up and down a bunch of hills, that you don't have to wait a long time for a bus that is or isn't coming to take you back and forth. There's continued issues with concessions, the weak in-stadium Wi-Fi, glitches with scanning the online tickets at the gate. I got some emails about that this week. These were among the litany of complaints listed by fans, either in emails to me or on a thread on the AFP Facebook page attached to a story that I'd written on last week's low attendance. 38,000 for homecoming. There's a 61,500 seat stadium. The Virginia football team is 4-1 now and still can't get people to come to games. And I've been raising this issue for a while being years, about having more than 20,000 empty seats each week and how that, impacts so much. The need to uh, get $16 million in revenues in the form of quote unquote student activity fees, basically just money charged to UVA students to balance the books out for UVA athletics. $16 million, it's about, what would that be? About 11, 12% of the budget. Um, and then, the lack of ticket sales also impacts the other sports, whether they can hire assistant coaches, whether they can hire support staff, where they can how they travel, whether be good travel or not. All these are issues. So the Who's are 4-1 in the 4-1 overall, 2-0 in the ACC at this writing, and with that 38,000 and change that made it out this past Saturday, we're averaging right at 40,000 in the 61,500 seat Scott Stadium. It was like 40,100 and something when I did the math through three games, the midpoint of the six-game home schedule. We don't even have seven home games. We're playing extra road games to, I guess, make some extra money there. We probably won't get anywhere near 61,500 for Louisville this weekend, even with a 4-1 record, a chance to go 5-1 for the first time in a long, long time. Big reason for that, I think, is going to be that the students are on fall break this weekend. So when you got students on fall break, less of them are going to be there. So that 2007 season I mentioned, and then the UVA has a chance to be 5-1 since 2007. I've talked about that season a lot here in that 2007 season is the beginning of when things started to go downhill for UVA football in a lot of ways, both in terms of the play on the field but also the attendance. So that 2007 season, UVA started 5-1. They actually started 9-2. Ended up 9-4. Lost to Virginia Tech, go figure, and then lost the bowl game. And that season, though, the home attendance average was 59,824. Um, but that was also the year before that season, actually. The UV athletics department decided to try to take advantage of the upswing. Al Groh's tenure to that point was still on the upswing. It would take a dramatic fall. 2 years later, he was fired. Um, by requiring season ticket holders to significantly increase their annual giving to a minimum of 6,200 a year to be able to maintain the seats that they had had, in some cases, 3 or 4 decades. Um, this was called reseeding. Now, to be fair, UVA Athletics did announce that before 2007 season, gave it until the 2008 season, so gave people a year. But giving people a year to come up with a lot more money doesn't necessarily help you come up with a lot more money. And it's not $6,200 at once; it'd be $6,200 a year. If you just don't have it, you just don't have it. And a lot of middle class fans were priced out of the market. A lot of people who had been going to games since the really bad years were priced out of the market for UVA's tickets. Now, the move did lead to a 1 year dramatic boost in football ticket revenues, $11 million in 2008. They've not been back there since. The most recent figure for a full home schedule was 7.5 million in 2022. Over the last five non-COVID seasons, UVA football is averaging $8.3 million in annual football ticket revenue. So it was a short-term slight boost in the greater context of things, and a long-term money loser for UVA football from a business standpoint. And it came at the expense of the relationship between UVA athletics and many of its longtime fans. They just couldn't afford the much higher giving threshold. And this is for, I'm just going to go to the side here. This is for an athletics program that has lots of big money donors. They didn't need to fleece the middle class people. Okay. Um, but they did, and a lot of those folks lost their seats to money donors, who then were also the fickle fair weather donors that when, two losing seasons later, Al Guerrero was fired, they abandoned the program too. So the UV Athletics abandoned the fans who'd been there through thick and thin, a lot of thin. And then the money people that they went after abandoned them in a short order. Um, had a couple of longtime fans write me that I quoted in a column I wrote on this. So one, Chris Dorier wrote, UV Athletics did this to themselves in 2008 with the money grab reseeding policy, and they've never recovered. I mean, this is the perspective of not just me, but of fans. Dorier said he still is a season ticket holder, but you can tell from his comment that the sting of what UV Athletics did in 2008 still feels fresh. So here's more from what he wrote. The 2008 reseeding policy drove out most of those supporters, and the attendance numbers show that every home game. There are still some of us attending, but UVA's greed is what led to the lack of attendance. Yet they're still too smart to realize or address it. Carla Williams, who's the athletics director at UVA, doesn't have a clue. She came from a rabid fan base in Georgia, which she will never find here. And because of finances and optics, she'll never be able to connect or understand that. Even though the athletic department hemorrhages money every home game, they still don't have the awareness or intelligence to market to the local fan. Congratulations to Coach Elliott and the Wahoos for getting to 4-1. This was more from Chris Doyer. It's a shame the AD and administration doesn't have the acumen to fill out the stadium and support them. So after that 2017 drew an average of just under 60,000 fans per home game, the 2008 season opener had a record crowd, 64,947 for the game with Southern Cal, a blowout. I think the final score was 52-7 Southern Cal. Um, We've had 60,000 for a game once since that game, and that was in 2011, the Virginia Tech game. Another blowout loss, but we were at least that game. Virginia was in the mix. I think 8-2 record. I want to say, and a chance with a win to get into the ACC championship game. That didn't allow that to happen, but still, they had a good crowd for that game. Um, but there are people who say just win, it'll fix everything. Well, Virginia won 8 games in 2018. Didn't fix it then. Average attendance in the 45,000 range. 2019, that team won 9 regular season games, beat Virginia Tech and Florida State at home, went to the ACC championship game, went to the Orange Bowl. This is one of the more celebrated seasons in UVA history. The average that season was 47,000. They had 2 games over 50,000. That's it. Um, uh, so. Now I can understand that was the good year 5 years ago. That was a good year. I can understand season ticket sales this year. I reported on this a lot this spring and summer, being under the 15,000 mark because Virginia's coming off of two back-to-back 3-win seasons. The media projected Virginia 16th in the 17-team ACC going into this season. I can see a lack of enthusiasm from the fan base from a season ticket perspective. But they're winning games now. They're 4-1, and this is a legit. It feels legit to me. You win a game at Wake Forest on the road, you beat a good Boston College team at home. They're 4-1 now, and you're still, we had 38,000 for homecoming. We're not going to have that likely for Louisville in town. Louisville's a recent top 20 team. Um, the people will, if you win, the people will come line again. I'll bring up that 2019 season. I'll bring up that. There were 9,000 empties for that Tech game that year, the Virginia Tech game with the ACC championship game spot on the line. There were 52,000 people in the stadium. You know, Scott German, my colleague here at AFP, made the joke, I'm disappointed in the Virginia Tech fan base. They didn't fill up our stadium for us. Reader after reader on our Facebook page thread made the point that the problem dates back 16 years to 2008, and it's not going to go away with time. Here was Todd MacArthur, a self-described double Wahoo and townie, a Charlottesville resident. The message was sent to townies that unless you met the new minimum for donations, you would lose spots. A lot of locals decided to ditch UVA football. I don't blame them. Good luck winning them back. Here's another UVA fan and reader, Andrew Woodrum. Won't likely ever recover from the seat relocation they did to their longtime season ticket holders years ago. Took their good seats and moved them on top if they didn't donate. Suddenly, all the real fans were gone, and the people that got their seats would rather mingle in the parking lot eating brie. Big mistake doing your loyal fans dirty. I like the dig there from Andrew. He's one of us. He can do that. I wouldn't accept that from a Duke or Tech fan, but that's one of us saying that. Here's reader Jason Farish. After my family seats were moved back from the ones they'd had for years, 40-yard line, 7 rows back from the UVA bench to the goal line, 12 rows back, due to the donation fiasco, my father-in-law was ranting about the new seats, and one of the ushers said to him, "I'm so tired of hearing you people complain about their seats. We've only been back a couple of times." Congratulations. I guess the usher doesn't have to hear the complaints anymore because there's a sea of empties. 20,000 empty seats. Well, those ushers don't have jobs. You don't need ushers for empty sections, right? The message that I saw as I poured through this comment thread was there are plenty of items that need to be addressed. Again, the parking and accommodations, the food and drink offerings, the seemingly simple to solve things like the in-stadium connectivity and Wi-Fi. Ticket prices would seem to be an easy thing to fix. It's frustrating that those have been problems for years and they're still issues. That's a lack of attention to detail and follow through on the part of folks on the business side of the athletics program. Simple. I mean, by and large, that's it. That's it right there. But the bigger issue, and this one with the longtime fans still feeling like they were passed by for money reasons 16 years ago, I don't know that you can do anything to get that obviously large segment of fans back. I mean, we're talking here in a lot of those cases about people who've been going to games with their kids and their kids' kids and their neighbors and coworkers and college buddies and their kids, and their seat partners had become football season friends for decades. And in flash, that was all gone. For all the people still angry about having that taken away, there are multiples more. There's a multiplier effect here. Those folks' kids, their neighbors and coworkers and college buddies' kids, didn't grow up going to UVA football games. When I talked about fans having the loyalty through thick and thin and a lot of thin, there's been a lot of thin these last 16 years. But if you have a good, if you have your kids there and they're having a good time going to the games and they have positive memories associated with going to games, win or lose, they're going to stick with you through through the thin, and they're going to get there to the thick. They didn't grow up now because of this policy. They didn't grow up being UVA football fans. They didn't grow up going to games. They don't care. They don't have these memories. They didn't become fans like their parents and grandparents did. They don't even have UVA football on their internal radar. Now, there's a way to get them back. It starts with an apology. For more news from Augusta Free Press, go to augustafreepress.com. U.S. and world news, Virginia news, local news for Stanton, Waynesboro, Augusta County, Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Harrisonburg, Rockingham County. If you have a news tip for me, if you have a story idea, if you just want to send an email and say, what did you think about this, that, or the other, please drop me an email at chris@augustafreepress.com.